Hi there, just wanted to start off this new year with a little bit of fun in 2021 and tell you a little bit about Agents Layne. So Brian, I think that you wanted to ask me some questions and I'm going to ask Brian some questions as well.
Sounds good. Cool. So we'll start off with pretty easy ones here. Why did you get into real estate in the beginning?
It's a long time ago.
Yes.
2003. I was pregnant with our firstborn, and
remember.
I was a licensed clinical social worker at Harvard UCLA, and I was a death social worker, crisis intervention social worker, and I had been doing that for what, 6, 7, 8 years?
Yeah.
7? And it was time because
It was a lot of fun to be around, let me tell you.
I love that job, Brian. I did. I still appreciate social workers. Shout out to all the social workers, MSWs, LCSWs.
True that.
But it was time for a change. I wanted to be home with my child and have flexibility. And I knew that real estate could possibly get me that opportunity, and it 100% did.
Cool.
So that's how it all started.
Nice. So what would you say is kind of the highlights of why real estate, you stuck with it for over 17 years? You obviously like it a lot. What do you like most about it? A couple things about real estate that you think are great.
Good question. The thing that I love most is that it allows you to see people in their best and at their worst. And that contrast in human emotion is just always very exciting to kind of witness and be part of. And that goes for the good and the bad, and that just reminds me of social work. Again, I'm gonna bring that back because what social work taught me a long time ago was to be where the client is. And I brought that into real estate, and I think that even though you get emotionally drawn into the escrow, the transaction, the emotion, you just know that you have to be there for the sellers, for the buyers, and do your very best. So I think that that engagement on that emotional level with people constantly, and you're constantly learning, is it's what's great about real estate.
Very good. All right, so this will be the last question.
No.
For that.
Easy.
Yeah, exactly. Bring it a little closer to home here. What do you feel like has been the biggest impact for you with the COVID-19 and the whole quarantine?
With real estate?
You. Like,
With
what
me.
You know,
Nothing to do with real estate, Brian Layne.
Almost a year. That's all right. It's getting to know the real estate agent. He's in and out of real estate.
Well, remember, with real estate, we've been deemed essential workers. So Brian and I actually never stopped working, which was a blessing.
Except for that first 6 weeks or so.
Right. Well, in March, we had escrows, and by the grace of God, no one canceled, no one ran away. People closed their escrows in March and in April.
True.
So that was such a blessing. So thank you, all those clients that didn't ditch us. And so I think that the March, April was a very nice time for us to hang out with the girls.
Right.
And what I recently said to Brian is that we're very fortunate that we have 3 daughters. They're almost 13, 15, and 17. And this time, I think that they have quarantined, obviously, and spent a lot of time together. And they get along so well. And I think that without COVID, they wouldn't have gotten to be so close as they are today. And for that, I'm grateful. And I think they'll remember that for the rest of their lives.
Our first half of our first video, get to know the agent.
Okay, enough about me. So now let's ask Brian a couple questions and a little bit of background about Brian, and then obviously you can talk as well.
I can share my thoughts.
Yes, please. I'll give you permission. I have been asking Brian for years to join me in real estate. I would say 5 years ago?
Yeah, at least 2.
Yeah, at least 2 years I kind of begged him, and then 3 years ago he finally said yes. So he has been doing real estate for 3 years.
Yep.
And do you know why I really wanted you to become a real estate agent?
To keep an eye on me?
No,
to
not
make
even
sure I
close.
wasn't having fun at work? I'm not sure. No, I do not know why
Okay,
specifically you wanted me to.
I'll
join
tell
you.
you why. Because you are one of those people that I appreciate that have a level of integrity that I really appreciate, and communication skills.
Communication skills.
Your communication skills are the best. So that really makes for a good real estate agent.
Cool.
So,
Fair enough.
okay, so my question.
Yeah.
So it's been 3 years. I have 2 questions for you. What do you dislike most? And what is it like to be working with your wife?
All right. Can it be the same answer? Just kidding.
You're just funny, aren't you?
Yes. So, what do I dislike most? I think obviously the thing with real estate, and I think most people realize this, is it's a feast or famine business. You know, it's very hard to get consistency with transactions, with clients. I mean, you always laugh at me when we go on a listing appointment, and I want to follow up with them and find out why they went with a different agent.
Right.
I want to know why.
Yeah.
And she's like,
It's
doesn't
life,
matter.
because it's
Yeah,
life, because that's what
exactly,
happens.
That's what happens. So she's good about letting the losses go on the real estate side, whereas I'm a little more like, I'd like to know a little more about the reasoning, because I think, there's an opportunity to learn there, and that's really the reason why. It's not because I want to hold them accountable to why they choose us.
Right.
I get that people have different
Options.
and different things that click with them,
Right.
what I mean? There's just different, and that's the thing about real estate agents, it's like, I think people don't realize how important it is to get a real estate agent that really resonates with you.
Right.
And sees eye to eye with you on a lot of things, and sometimes can still challenge you. You don't want it all just like yes, 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 but you want them to understand you, and then in enough way to help support your goal as a buyer or a seller.
Right.
Back into that. So
Yeah, well, I mean, I really could just interject. The whole idea of getting business and not getting business, the mentality comes from there's an abundance for everybody. So
Sure.
when we get that listing or don't get the other, I'm like, there's going to be more behind that when we didn't get. So that's where I stay sane.
Right. That makes sense.
And then
Working with your wife.
Yes.
So how do I?
what do you?
What do I think about it?
Yeah.
Oh. Honestly, out of the gate, I think it's great. I mean, I wouldn't. We've been married over 20 years. I wouldn't.
What's going to go bad, right?
Right. Well, I mean, I think a lot of couples can have great marriages, but would have a very hard time working together because it is a different dynamic for sure. I think because we both know each other so well that we make it work in the work environment, because I do think we bleed a lot of our marriage into the work. I mean, it's just one of those things. We work from home, even non-pandemic, we're working from home where our office is right next to each other. I mean, there's just a lot of very close proximity and communication, and also I'm learning from you, and so there's that, mentor aspect to a lot of things. That can be good and can be bad. I mean, it's good because it's easy for me to reach over and say, hey, what about this? It can be bad. She's not the greatest teacher in the world. That's the reality of things, her patience with teaching. And I think especially when you're with somebody who you're very close to, you feel like you shouldn't have to extend your patience.
A lot of common sense kind of scenarios.
A lot of common sense
that I think
scenarios.
should be like common sense.
Right. And I want to know why.
Why?
So,
well, that's fair enough. Thank you very much. So that's it. A little bit of us. Hope you enjoyed it. Please reach out if you have any realistic questions. Thanks for watching.
See you soon.